Remember that weirdness I saw with these kind of lumpy mushrooms? Well, I figured out what that is now. I've had the plastic up on these bags too high. And how I can tell is because these mushrooms are reverting back to pinning. You can see new pins coming out of the mushrooms. So it's basically self-digesting its old mushrooms to make new ones, which I'm just going to let it do its thing. But fortunately, I'm pretty sure I've caught it before these ones develop. And that's the reason too why these were making smaller caps and big fat stems. It's because there's too much carbon dioxide building up in the where the plastic was high, and that high amount of carbon dioxide was signaling to the mushrooms to shrink your caps and try to stretch or swell out to break above the surface of whatever it's enclosing it. Yeah, I thought that would hold up better moisture. I didn't think it would cause that, but no, I definitely see I have to trim the plastic. So on all my bags, I've trimmed the plastic down to about 1 inch, no higher than that. And hopefully that's going to give me a lot better mushroom formation and not see any more of that weirdness. I went ahead and decided to cut even more plastic off of these bags, all the way to where it's just over the casing, enough to keep it all in. Because I was kind of visualizing, I can hear bags draining in the background. I was trying to visualizing just how much carbon dioxide these things produce and how it's coming out. I bet if you could see it, it's probably like a waterfall. It's just coming out so much and pouring over. And even having just the plastic 1 inch high is enough to create a pocket that the mushrooms have to break through to sense that it's above ground or at an area that's adequate for fruiting. But now that the tops of the bags are all the way down, it's much easier to mist everything. No plastic get in the way, no having to get the hose up here in between shelves. So that makes things much easier. And also you can see these bags, I figured out a better way of draining these. Instead of holding them upside down for a minute or so and rocking them back and forth, if you just put them on their sides on the shelves, they'll mostly drip out. You can hear the liquid pouring out all at once when it finally gets enough to plop down. Of course, this won't completely drain it. I'll have to still tip it upside down for a few seconds to get the last little bit of standing water out, but that's going to do most of the work and much better than holding the bags by your hands. So these are going to get cased tomorrow morning. I'll let them drain overnight. And I'm going to do a variety of sealing the bag over the casing and cutting holes to see if that is a better method of even doing this. I finished casing these 24 bags that I had soaking in water and draining on this shelf. And I did 3 different things. First thing is that I just initially cut the plastic off these blocks and left about 1 inch. And then you can see I kind of pretty much cased to the level of the plastic. Which I remember doing in the past, and maybe that's another one of the reasons why I had better success, is that the casing layer was level with the edge of the plastic, so any of that CO2 can just roll right off the top. The next thing I did is just case and then fold the bag over and kind of curled back the one side so I got as much of the casing with just one layer of plastic over it. And then, kind of pinched the bag in between the blocks at the ends, touching each other. And then I took a razor knife and made 6 slits across the top. So you can see it has plenty of room to pull the plastic out of the way when the mushrooms pop. And then the third method is that I cased and then tied the bag down with a piece of metal wire, the same metal wire that was on the bag. I just saved them. And then snipped all the excess plastic and took my arrowhead tool that I would use to punch holes for straw logs and cottonseed haul logs, and just did 24 holes around the top of all these. Also too, the center will eventually probably produce a mushroom too as the mycelium works up through. And hopefully both of those methods will make it so that I really don't have to open the plastic up to clean any old pins out or anything, you know, snap off anything that doesn't go at the outside. And all that, you know, little stuff that gets to be a mess will just get much more easily reused within the block, because it'll have the plastic covering it, keeping the CO2 high, keeping the moisture in. It's just that CO2, you know, is also responsible for getting rid of all your old pins and turning it back into some useful energy for the next flush.